First up, have you got a Nectar card? Well, if you do, Sainsbury's have just sold your data to the tune of £300 million. And Tesco, well, they do the same things. You might have noticed these mega deals for club card members. Now, none of this is against the law, but should it be? Are you OK with your data being sold in this way? Do you think we need new data protection laws? Peter, let me come to you. You look like a man who enjoys a club card.
I don't know how to take that. A man who enjoys a club card.
Maybe you like a discount. We all like a discount.
Doesn't everyone?
We all love a discount. And isn't it the case at the moment, you will have seen it as well, the price differences in supermarkets at the moment are phenomenal. Like the example that I used just before the news is the fact that you can get a bottle of Baileys, I think it was for about 33 quid without the card, and it was nearly half that price with a card. Here we go, let me find my figures. £13 if you got a Nectar card, or £22 if you didn't have one at Sainsbury's. Now, do people know why these discounts are so huge? Do we need more awareness of what these companies then do with our data once we've registered?
Well, the data is another point we'll come to, but I think on the pricing, just, you know, we're all shoppers, we're all consumers in one form. We can see why they're doing it, which is if on the face of it, there's a big quote-unquote discount, then the customer, which is us, feels like it's a good deal. Now, as I understand it, there are quite strict rules about how you define a discount. So a product has to be available at the higher rate for X number of days. It may be 28 days or so before the discount kicks in, i.e. you can't double the price for a tin of beans yesterday and then halve it today and claim that's a discount. So there are already some rules against that. But we know, and as you said in your intro, supermarkets are acting legally, but there's now a much bigger differential between the ordinary price and the loyalty card price, like a Nectar or Tesco club card. On the data, which again, I think will be a bit controversial. Again, there's no suggestion Sainsbury have broken the law, but I've got a lot of sympathy for Sainsbury in some respects, and I think they generally have good customer service. People try to help you. They're quite transparent with their pricing. Certainly, we've all had bad experiences in supermarkets, and I haven't had those particularly in Sainsbury, but I think a lot of folk will feel uncomfortable at data being sold, because if it's being sold for 300 million, then even if it's anonymised, it implies that it's quite valuable to someone. But
we don't know enough about it, though, Peter. We don't know that this is happening. When we sign up to these loyalty schemes, do you think it explicitly says in big enough letters, the reason we're giving you this massive discount and effectively manipulating you into joining our club card scheme is because we're then going to take your data, we're going to sell it to advertisers, you're going to be bombarded with stuff that you might not want?
I don't think manipulating it is a fair word. It's up to all of us, whether we're moving house, a big expense, or a smaller contractual arrangement like signing up for a club card, to read the small print. And I suspect, like...
Have you seen how long the small print is, Jacqueline? I mean, when you get the terms and conditions, we just tick the box, don't we? And we just presume that they're going to be... We trust them.
Yeah, I mean, I think Sainsbury is one of the brands I've got a bit more trust in. There are others, and I'm not going to list them all, but others who I have an extremely negative view on. But ultimately, it is down to us, because it's a trade-off between saving a little bit of money, which kind of, compared to 10 years ago, all our weekly shopping is much more painful financially, saving a little bit of money versus what we're signing away.
Jacqueline, I always find it fascinating when I hear people who would deem themselves to be on the political left, what that even means anymore, kind of trusting in huge corporations and advocating for this sort of system.
Well, I'm not advocating for it, but I'm saying...
But you're defending Sainsbury's for pulling the wool over our eyes. Or the...
Well, why do you use that phrase, pulling the wool over our eyes, if they're acting within the law?
Because maybe this is the point, isn't it? Maybe as consumers, we need to feel that we are making these decisions with absolute informed consent about where our data goes, Jacqueline.
Well, I think this is now... You can't put the genie back in the bottle. This isn't just about supermarkets. If you've got travel insurance and you've got health insurance and you've got home insurance, you will find that all of these companies and building societies too, in the T&Cs, very often it will say, by the time you find it, that some of the information, not all of it, will be sold to third parties. They will have access to it. So it's been around for a long time. In terms of when you look at the loyalty cards, I have no issue at all. I am a free marketeer and I'm going to choose, if I've got a Sainsbury's or whoever it might be near me, then as a shopper, I want to get the best deal I can. If I want a loyalty card, I accept that there will be, again, some information that will go towards a third party, but there's not a great deal of personal information that they take off you to get that card, actually, because, funnily enough, I only recently got one. Probably should have got it years ago, because,
But that's my point. So presumably, you got that because you're shopping and seeing the massive difference in prices.
Yeah, I saw on some items, I saw that there was quite considerable discount.
Massive.
Well, that's fine. I mean, people go to wholesalers and they get cards to go to wholesalers because they know that they'll get a discount. So I haven't got a huge issue with this at all. It's widespread. It's not just the supermarkets. What I do believe where the responsibility lies with companies is to ensure in the T&Cs, in those terms and conditions, that at the top of the page, it does say to people, you know, you have a choice, you can sign up for this, but do be aware that some of the information that you give us you know, will be sold on to third parties.
But you see, with those differences in prices,
yeah,
people can't afford not to sign up. I mean, another example, I gave you the bottle of Baileys, but the other example, a kilo of beef sold at £14.88, 15 quid for a joint of beef, or £7 with a loyalty card. So there is no choice. That's not a choice. You have to hand over your data.
Well, I'm sorry, but you might be able to go to the supermarket next door and get it for £7 anyway. I think it's about consumer choice, and it's about looking around, and I think people do shop quite... I think people are pretty savvy, actually.
But if they can sell it next door for £7, why can't Sainsbury sell it for £7 and not buy your data?
I don't know. I mean, you know, I'm not an expert in the retail trade market, but as a shopper, you know, sometimes you'll go somewhere and it may be a bit more expensive, but you know that you can guarantee the quality. So it's not always just that price that's on something for a shopper. What you want to do, if I'm buying food, for example, I want to make sure I can eat all of that food. I don't want to really go and pay and buy something and then find you cook this food and it's actually pretty awful or pretty hit and miss.
Yeah,
so it's not then good value for money.
I think this issue, Peter, though, about how beholden we are to tech now, it ties into this other story recently, which was about this UK government have said that we're at high risk of a catastrophic ransomware attack that could bring the country to a standstill. This damning report, Joint Committee National Security Strategy, has said that and I will predict now, and I don't mind saying on the TV, that in 2024, I think the next pandemic is going to be a massive cyber attack that will probably bring down most of our services that we are now rely on. We rely on them. And I think the way out of that is going to be you have to load up your biometric digital ID and then you can get back on the internet. But I feel like the British public don't have enough awareness of this. Are you frightened by the idea of a catastrophic ransomware attack, the virus to beat all viruses?
We've got to speak responsibly, and we've got to be ensure that everyone watching and all of us as individuals are resilient and aware of the risks without triggering alarm. So, of course, there are attempted cyber attacks on Britain all the time, whether they're small companies and charities because they're seen as easy, big companies because they're seen as rich, or the NHS in recent years as well. I think what we're hearing, and it's not going to be a top 3 issue on the doorstep going into general election. What we heard a lot more from the government the last couple of weeks is about resilience. Oliver Dowden, the de facto Deputy Prime Minister, gave a statement a week or two ago on a very similar point. I was struck by this report because we know there's a major economy and we're not in a very good relationship with Russia because of the evil actions of Vladimir Putin, that we're going to be a target. I was very struck in this report by an independent House of Commons committee, so they're not from the left-right debate, Jackie and I. It said the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, had not made cyber attacks a priority. Now, we hope nothing bad happens, but that does look like a pretty big misstep.
But when you say we've got to be resilient, I mean, Oliver Dowden was saying you should really have candles in your house because of a cyber attack. And Jacqueline, I just thought, what have we become in this move to strive towards a technological future? We've actually risking being a medieval country where our houses are colder and you can't turn the lights on. No, make it make sense to me, Jacqueline.
I can't stand knee-jerk and messages that go out that alarm the public, and they do not need to be alarmed. Of course we need to be aware. And in recent years, actually, I think government, to be fair, and I criticise my own government from time to time, people know this watching this show, you know, they've invested about £2.5 billion on trying to deal with this. We have had a couple of examples of this, and this was a local authority, I think, 4 years ago, and they were attacked. And we know that the NHS data at times is under attack.
That's right.
I do not believe that we are totally unprepared. We invest heavily in this. We're extremely good in this. I mean, we're quite world-leading in certain areas on cyber attack. I mean, we have GCHQ and we have other bodies in this country. And don't forget, we're part of the Five Eyes, which is obviously with America, New Zealand, Australia, Canada. We are preeminent in intelligence. So I think we do everything that we can to try and mitigate it. That does not mean to say something can't happen. But then you look at the number of times that they will have managed to block this. And we don't hear about that, but they are very successful at doing it. So you're quite right, Bev. Of course, you've always got to be aware. And we ourselves, I think the banks have done rather well in recent years, and some other organisations where they are trying to say, don't get caught in with an email here, or because it all boils into fraud and all of this sort of stuff and people being caught out. So no, I'm not a knee-jerker. We will obviously do everything we can, and we have to take personal responsibility to make sure that we don't get caught out. But I do think government, you know, party politics aside, I think government, they are on it. Doesn't mean to say something can't get through. It's not just Russia. It's also China. It's also other countries as well. We know that we are targeted, and so is the West generally. And so I just think we just need to be aware and then carry on and enjoy our lives.
Well, look what you've been saying at home. Trevor said, I've got a Nectar card. I got £137 since last Christmas. I don't care who gets my data. I just buy where and what I want. And Simon says, Tesco started all this off first. Their television advert showed a lady going around zapping different products with a club card. They grossly inflated the cost of all their products. But if you just happen to have a club card, you can buy the product at the original price. And then they call it a discount. That's my point. Exactly. And Carl, beautiful. It is discrimination against anyone who doesn't want to have a card like me. Exactly. And Sharon has said the small print have about 20 conditions, plus you need a magnifying glass to read the terms and conditions. So tick that box to say, no, you cannot sell my data. Keep your emails coming in.